Hello! Welcome to the Normal America Show. I'm your host, robnoerr. No Twitch tonight? Should be on Twitch, shouldn't it? Oh, right out of the gate. Someone throwing lightning at me. Let's see. Is one of my great Twitch supporters on right now? Could you just give me a holler if I'm streaming? Hey, can you see me? CD Death. Yeah, hello. Oh, what a day. Crazy work schedule. Didn't get time to watch a lot. Gonna be relying on my audience here to see what's going on. I know Trump had a big announcement tonight. I saw right before I came on that he filed a paperwork that he's running for president. No surprise there. But I didn't see if he, excuse me, tired, man. Been working hard. Didn't see if he gave a press conference or anything like that. So I'll have to look for that tonight after I'm done streaming. Had a weird day. He's taking the stage. I'm running up against Trump. That's great. That's, guess we could watch some of that. Let's see if I can find... Has anyone got a link where we can watch that? I'll throw some of that on if you don't mind. Get some of that good Trump... Nah. What's the word I'm looking for? Give me a second here.
The United States of America.
You guys want to watch that? Keep an eye on it. Someone tell me when it comes on. I'm on Fox, I think. Yay, Fox! Love Fox News. Tucker's good. Greg Gutfeld's okay. The rest of them suck. Oh, Kane. You know, it was weird. I wasn't going to blame Trump tonight. That wasn't my show was to blame Trump supporters and conservatives. Not all of them, but some of them. Which is fitting with my theme of yesterday, blaming myself. Because I consider myself a Trump supporter to an extent. So we'll watch some of Trump's speech. Sometimes Trump goes long. We'll see. You know, predictions for this speech. You know, he'll run. He'll announce he's running. He'll say that, you know, the establishment's backing the people against him. You know, the rhinos and the neocons. So, alright, I think he's ready. Oh, we got some music going. It's going to be bigly. Very big. I can't do a Trump impression. I really can't. You know, what I would like to see, I actually would like to see Trump not run. I would like to see him endorse DeSantis or someone like that. And Kari Lake type person that's too young in her career to run. And try his best to make sure that DeSantis doesn't get co-opted by your Mitch McConnells and your Paul Ryans. Because it's going to be real difficult for a path forward. Because basically, if we're to believe that the election was on the up and up, what we're being told is a bunch of rhino Republicans are like, yeah, we'll never vote for Trump people. Okay, well then why should Trump people vote for your people? You know? All right, let's listen.
Well, thank you very much. Melania, myself, and our entire family. I want to thank you all for being here tonight. It's a very special occasion at a very special place. You and all of those watching are the heart and soul of this incredible movement, the greatest country in the history of the world. It's very simple. There has never been anything like it, this great movement of ours. Never been anything like it, and perhaps there will never be anything like it again. There's never been anything to compete with what we have all done. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, and my fellow citizens, America's comeback starts right now. Two years ago, when I left office, the United States stood ready for its golden age. Our nation was at the pinnacle of power, prosperity, and prestige, towering above all rivals, vanquishing all enemies, and striding into the future, confident and so strong. In 4 short years, everybody was doing great. Men, women, African Americans, Asian Americans, Hispanic Americans, everybody was thriving like never before. There was never a time like this. We turned the page on decades of globalist sellouts and one-sided trade deals, lifted millions out.
I'm here, everyone. Just
together we built
we're
the
listening
greatest
to Trump.
economy in the history of the world. When the virus hit our shores, I took decisive action and saved lives and the U.S. economy. And by October of the same year, America was roaring back with the #1 fastest economic recovery ever recorded. How about that?
Yeah, okay. That's because things did so bad under
The incoming
COVID.
administration, and all they had to do was just sit back and watch. Inflation was non-existent. Our southern border
Yeah, my
was
laptop
far
hums.
the strongest ever.
Here, I'll
And
fix
because
it.
the border was so tight, drugs were coming into our country at the lowest level in many, many years. Importantly, after decades of rising energy costs, the United States had finally attained the impossible dream of American energy independence, which soon would have turned into energy dominance. For the first time in memory, China was reeling and back on its heels. You've never seen that before, because the United States was outdoing them on every single front, and China was paying billions and billions of dollars in taxes and tariffs. The farmers know that because they got 28 billion of it. No president had ever sought or received $1 for our country from China until I came along, and we were getting hundreds of billions of dollars. Many people think that because of this, China played a very active role in the 2020 election. Just saying, just saying. Sure, that didn't happen. Instead of jobs and factories leaving America for China, they were, for the first time ever, leaving China for America. Businesses were pouring back because of our historic tax and regulation cuts, the biggest in both categories in history, bigger even than what Ronald Reagan was able to produce, and he produced a lot. China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea were in check and respected. They respected the United States, and quite honestly, they respected me. I knew them well. I knew them well. The vicious ISIS caliphate, which no president was able to conquer, was decimated by me and our great warriors in less than 3 weeks, and al-Baghdadi, its founder, was hunted down and killed. North Korea had not launched a single long-range missile since my summit with Chairman Kim Jong-un nearly 3 years before. We developed a relationship And that's a good thing, not a bad thing. It's a good thing. Very good thing, actually, because look at what's happening today. My opponents made me out to be a warmonger and just a terrible person who would immediately go into war. They said during the 2016 campaign that if he becomes president, there will never be a war within weeks, and we will have wars like you've never seen before. It will happen immediately, and yet I've gone decades without a war, the first president to do it for that long a period. The world was at peace, America was prospering, and our country was on track for an amazing future because I made big promises to the American people, and unlike other presidents, I kept my
I'm still here. I'm just listening. I'm not going to pause it. We'll leave him go. Nothing unexpected. He's just talking about how good he did, so... Well, my mic's spicy because my old one got thrown away, and despite what some people say, I don't have a lot of money,
Under
so
our leadership,
deal with it.
We were a great and glorious nation, something you haven't heard for quite a long period of time. We were a strong nation, and importantly, we were a free nation. But now we are a nation in decline. We are a failing nation. For millions of Americans, the past 2 years under Joe Biden have been a time of pain, hardship, anxiety, and despair. As we speak, inflation is the highest in over 50 years. Gas prices have reached the highest levels in history and expect them to go much higher now that the strategic national reserves, which I filled up, have been virtually drained in order to keep gasoline prices lower just prior to the election. Joe Biden has intentionally surrendered our energy independence. There is no longer even a thought of dominance, and we are now begging for energy help from foreign nations, many of whom find us detestable. Our southern border has been erased, and our country is being invaded by millions and millions of unknown people, many of whom are entering for a very bad and sinister reason. And you know what that reason is. We will be paying a big price for this invasion into our country for years to come. Hundreds of thousands of pounds of deadly drugs, including very lethal fentanyl, are flooding across the now open and totally porous southern border. The blood-soaked streets of our once great cities are cesspools of violent crimes, which are being watched all over the world as leadership of other countries explain that this is what America and democracy is really all about. How sad. The United States has been embarrassed, humiliated, and weakened for all to see. The disasters in Afghanistan, perhaps the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, where we lost lives, left Americans behind, and surrendered $85 billion worth of the finest military equipment anywhere in the world. And Ukraine, which would have never happened if I were your president, are something and even the Democrats admit that. That's something I've seen them admit over and over again. But our enemies are speaking of us with scorn and laughter and derision because of those two events. But there are many more. Even just today, a missile was sent in, probably by Russia, to Poland, 50 miles into Poland, and people are going absolutely wild and crazy, and they're not happy. They are very, very angry. Now we have a president who falls asleep at global conferences, was held in contempt by the British Parliament over Afghanistan. Thanks to the words of wisdom, he said thank you to the wrong country for inviting him to a major summit on the environment of all things. They fly for days to get there, and then he calls the country a name.
Trump
It's actually a country on another
messed
continent.
Trump messed up world leader names and things too, so not a strong point, but whatever.
Unimaginable just 2 short years ago. You cannot mention the nuclear word. It's too devastating. The Green New Deal and the environment, which they say may affect us in 300 years, is all that is talked about, and yet nuclear weapons, which would destroy the world immediately, are never even discussed as a major threat. Can you imagine? They say the ocean will rise 1/8 of an inch over the next 200 to 300 years. But don't worry about nuclear weapons that can take out entire countries with one shot. Something is wrong with their thinking. Under Biden and the radical Democrats, America has been mocked, derided, and brought to its knees, perhaps like never before. But we are here tonight to declare that it does not have to be this way. It does not have to be this way. Two years ago, we were a great nation, and soon we will be a great nation again. The decline of America is being forced upon us by Biden and the radical left lunatics running our government right into the ground. This decline is not a fate we must accept. When given the choice, boldly, clearly, and directly, I believe the American people will overwhelmingly reject the left's platform of national ruin, and they will embrace our platform of national greatness and glory to America. Glory. Exactly 1 week ago, our citizens voted in the important midterm elections, and despite a ridiculously long and unnecessary period of waiting, far longer, in fact, than any third world country, just a short time ago, the Republicans won back control of the House of Representatives. And it was with a great Trump-endorsed candidate, Congressman-elect Kevin Kiley, who is a fantastic person, and I'm very happy it was his vote that did it. But we now won back. This happened just an hour ago. Much criticism is being placed on the fact that the Republican Party should have done better, and frankly, much of this blame is correct. But the citizens of our country have not yet realized the full extent and gravity of the pain our nation is going through, and the total effect of the suffering is just starting to take hold. They don't quite feel it yet, but they will very soon. I have no doubt that by 2024, it will sadly be much worse, and they will see much more clearly what happened and what is happening to our country, and the voting will be much different. 2024. Are you getting ready?
He's been disciplined so far. Hasn't attacked DeSantis or other Republicans.
I am too. I do want to point out that in the midterms, my endorsement success rate was 232 wins and only 22 losses. You don't hear that from the media.
Sort of misleading. Like, he endorsed people that had no chance of losing, but
elegant press place, and I'm not going to use the term fake news media. So we're going to keep it very elegant. But you don't hear that from the media. But I think you will, because people are starting to see what happened. That's some score. And in the primaries was 98.6%. But they were still trying to blame me. And the reason for the success and that unprecedented success rate is that the Trump administration changed our nation on trade, on securing the border. We're the strongest, safest border ever in the history of our country. On Islamic terrorism, we had practically, just about, not that I can think of, no Islamic attacks, terrorist attacks during the Trump administration. And in fact, we got along very well with the various countries, including coming up with the Abraham Accords. That's a great thing, the Abraham Accords. But it's because of cutting taxes and cutting regulations at the highest level ever, and on building the greatest economy. Any time in the history of the world, there's never been an economy like we had just 2 years ago. Despite the outcome in the Senate, we cannot lose hope, and we must all work very hard for a gentleman and a great person named Herschel Walker, a fabulous human being who loves our country and will be a great United States Senator. Herschel Walker, get out and vote for Herschel, and he deserves it. He was an incredible athlete.
Smart. It's one of the things I was looking for. If he still pushes. Last time he was blamed for causing the loss of the Senate in the runoff. So
stars of our party for many years to come. In the popular vote, another thing that's not discussed for the House, we must remember that Republicans won 5 million more votes, the largest margin in many, many years, over the Democrats. 5 million more votes, that's a big thing. Breaking the radical Democrats' grip on Congress was crucial. So in other words, because of our great congressmen and all of our great congressmen and congresswomen, we have taken over Congress. Nancy Pelosi has been fired. Isn't that nice? I told them, I said, if you just keep a little bit lower standard, you're going to have a big victory. They said, let's win by 40 seats. Let's win by 50. I said, if you win by 2 seats, be happy. But she's on her way to another country right now. She's been fired. But we always have known that this was not the end. It was only the beginning of our fight to rescue the American dream. And it's a word you don't use, 2 words. I don't want to be Joe. It's 2 words, American dream. That was not good what he did. There are a lot of bad things, like going to Idaho and saying, welcome to the state of Florida. I really love it. In order to make America great and glorious again, I am tonight announcing my candidacy for President of the United States. Thank you, kids. Thank you. All of you. Thank you. Thank you. So many incredible friends and family here tonight. It's such a beautiful thing. Some people say, how do you speak before so many people all the time? When there's love in the room, it's really easy, if you want to know the truth. It really is. You ought to try it sometime. Together, we will be taking on the most corrupt forces and entrenched interests imaginable. Our country is in a horrible state. We're in grave trouble. This is not a task for a politician or a conventional candidate. This is a task for a great movement that embodies the courage, confidence, and the spirit of the American people. This is a movement. This is not for any one individual. This is a job for tens of millions of proud people working together from all across the land and from all walks of life, young and old, black and white, Hispanic and Asian, many of whom we have brought together for the very, very first time. If you look at the numbers, if you look at what's happened with Hispanic, with African American, with Asian, and just look at what's happening. This is a party that has become much bigger, much stronger, much more powerful, can do much more good for our country. This is a job for grandmothers and construction workers, firefighters, builders, teachers, doctors, and farmers who cannot stay quiet any longer. You can't stay quiet any longer. You're angry about what's happening to our country. Our country is being destroyed before your very eyes. It's a job for every aspiring young person and every hard-working parent, for every entrepreneur and underappreciated police officer who is ready to shout for safety in America. The police are being treated so badly. These are great people. They can straighten out the crime. They're the ones that know how to do it. We have to give them back their respect and their dignity. This will not be my campaign. This will be our campaign all together. Because the only force strong enough to defeat the massive corruption we are up against is you, the American people. It's true. The American people, the greatest people on earth, we love them all. And we love both sides. We're going to bring people together. We're going to unify people. And it was happening in the previous administration, previous to the previous. And what was bringing them together was success. Prior to COVID coming in, the people were calling me, you wouldn't believe it. People that were so far left, I figured they'd never speak to me and I would never speak to them. But our success was so incredible, like never before. And then COVID started coming in from China. We call it the China virus. Some people call it other things. But it was devastating, and we built it back and did an incredible job. But when people say Republicans or Democrats or liberals or conservatives, I say we can all get together. And we were doing that. That was happening just prior, because the success was greater than this country has ever had. We were leapfrogging China and leapfrogging everybody else, and everybody wanted a piece of it. But just as I promised in 2016, I am your voice. I am your voice. The Washington establishment wants to silence us, but we will not let them do that. What we have built together over the past 6 years is the greatest movement in history, because it is not about politics. It's about our love for this great country, America, and we're not going to let it fail. I am running because I believe the world has not yet seen the true glory of what this nation can be. We have not reached that pinnacle, believe it or not. In fact, we can go very far. We're going to have to go far. First, we have to get out of this ditch. And once we're out, you'll see things that nobody imagined for any country. It's called the United States of America, and it's an incredible place. We are Americans, and we do not have to endure what has taken place in Washington, D.C. This is our country, our government, and the corridors of power, they're our corridors. They're not their corridors. These are our corridors. And we are coming to take those corridors back. So from now until Election Day in 2024, which will come very quickly, we'll go, look at how time flies. Look how fast it's all going. I will fight like no one has ever fought before. We will defeat the radical left Democrats that are trying to destroy our country from within, and likewise protect us all. We want to protect us. We have to be protected from all of those nations out there that are looking to destroy us from beyond our shores. There are lots of nations that hate us gravely. And that's the problem, when they look at us in disarray like we are right now, when we go to them begging for oil and we have more liquid gold under our feet than they have or any other nation has, and we don't use it because we're going to them. It's crazy what's happening. We can't let it continue. Joe Biden is the face of left-wing failure and Washington corruption. He had a big G20 dinner tonight. Everybody flew over to wherever they flew over, and guess what? He never showed up. They're still looking for him. What's going on? G20, I used to love that, the leaders. I used to make deals for our country like you wouldn't believe. It was one, give me the next one, give me the next one. And we got them to stop taking advantage of our country. Every nation took advantage of our country. We renegotiated deals with Mexico and Canada, USMCA. We got rid of the worst trade deal ever made. Ever made, NAFTA, the worst trade deal ever made. That's why the farmers love Trump, because we did a great job, but manufacturers also. And we did a deal, we restructured our terrible deal with Japan, and I did it with Prime Minister Abe, a great man who unfortunately is so sad. He was a great friend of mine, but a great man, loved his country so much, but we restructured and made it a really terrific deal, and with South Korea and so many other countries. And the best of all was what we did to China. We made an incredible deal, but after COVID, I don't even bother talking about it because the devastation that caused for the entire world was too much to bear. I will ensure that Joe Biden does not receive 4 more years in 2020. Can't do it. Our country could not take that. And I say that not in laughter. I say that in tears. Our country could not take 4 more years. It can only take so much. It's all very fragile to start off with. It can only take so much. In 2020, I received the largest number of votes of any sitting president in history by a lot. And we will do it again, but with even more votes this time. Many have noted that huge gains we have made with Latino voters, and I believe we will set even greater records with this crucial vote in 2024. The Hispanic voter, the Latino voter has been unbelievable. Great people, very entrepreneurial people, and they want security. And everyone thought when I did the wall, I built the wall, and they thought, oh, that would hurt me with the Hispanic vote. No, it helped me because they understood. They wanted safety. They wanted security. And they understood the border better than anybody else. So they were amazed that we started that trend, and now we're continuing with that trend. You look at what we've done in Florida, what everybody's doing now in Florida and Texas, along the border in Texas, won every single community. I won every single community. Governor of Texas called. Great gentleman, just got reelected. And he said to me, I'd like to talk to you for a second. Well, he said, you've done something that nobody else has done. You've won every single area along the border. It's the longest since Reconstruction. I said, Reconstruction? I guess you call that the Civil War? That's what I call it? That's what I call it. Governor Abbott, very good man, and he's working hard, but it's horrible because what's happening is they're just sending hundreds of thousands of people right through his state, right through Arizona, right through all of the states. What's happening is they're coming up all of the states. And we can't have it anymore. This campaign will be about issues, vision, and success, and we will not stop. We will not quit until we've achieved the highest goals and made our country greater than it has ever been before, and we can do that. We can do it. Our victory will be built upon big ideas, bold ambitions, and daring dreams for America's future. We need daring dreams. It is not enough merely to complain or oppose. We don't want to be critics. We don't want to be complainers. I never wanted to be a critic. I never respected critics. They tell people what's wrong, but they can't do it themselves. We will win because we will fight with every measure of our strength and with every ounce of our energy to lift up the working men and working women of America and to restore the fabric of this nation. The radical left Democrats have embraced an extreme ideology of government domination and control. Our approach is the opposite, one based on freedom, values, individual responsibility, and just plain common sense. It's common sense. In 2 years, the Biden administration has destroyed the U.S. economy, just destroyed it. With victory, we will again build the greatest economy ever. It will take place quickly. We will build the greatest economy ever. And if you remember, I did it twice. I did it before COVID and then handed off something where the stock market was higher than just prior to COVID coming in. And we did it twice, and we will do it again, but this time we'll do it bigger, stronger, better than anybody can even imagine. And one of the beautiful things of the pause, if there is such a thing as a beautiful thing, but one of the important factors of the pause is that we see how bad they've done. So we will be able to do it properly, and it will be much easier. Everybody will agree with us because everybody sees what a bad job has been done during this 2-year period, and it will be a 4-year period. Everybody sees that. It will be much easier for us to do what has to be done. We will immediately tackle inflation and bring down to a level that it was. You know, we were at 0, but actually the best number is 1%. Do you know that? You don't want it really 0. But we were at 0. We actually got it to exactly 1%, the perfect number. One thing every economist agrees, don't have it 0, have it like at 1%. They even say 1 to 2, but I said, let's do 1. And we had it at 1%, and we had it there for a long period of time.
Trump said 1% inflation. Yeah.
So that this country could make a lot of money. And I fought other countries where they devalued their dollar, they devalued their currency, whether it was the pound or whether it was the yuan or the yen. And I used to fight like cats and dogs with the leaders of other countries because they were stealing from us. When they did that, they had artificial devaluations of their currency. It's a very important thing. I haven't even heard it mentioned in 2 years. That's a very important thing. It's very hard for us to compete when they do that artificially. And they had to pay a big price when they did it. And they never really did it for very long. I said, we're not going to do business with you anymore as a country. And they believed me. And they let it go back up. Instead of putting America last, as the Biden administration has done very, very openly and bravely, because I can't imagine saying, let's put America last. I think it takes courage. We will again put America first. Every policy. Thank you very much. We do love our country, isn't it? That's why we're here. I didn't need this. I had a very nice, easy life. This is something I didn't need, and a lot of you people don't need either, but we love our country, and we have to take care of our country. We have to save our country. Every policy must be geared toward that which supports the American worker, the American family, and businesses, both large and small, and allows our country to compete with other nations on a very level playing field, which we never had until I came along and the Trump administration came along. And now we're losing it. They're moving back into China. They're moving back into these other countries. It's horrible. That means low taxes, low regulations, and fair trade, much of which I've already completed, but now will even greatly enhance. Other countries should pay for the privilege of coming into the American marketplace. They have to pay to come into our country and make all of that money, take it away from us. And thanks to the Trump administration, still the best and the biggest country in the world is what we have. We have the best and the biggest. If you remember, for many years, you can look in your projection books, China was going to take over from us as the largest economy in the world in 2018 or 2019. I said, I don't like that timing. And I was with President Xi, who's now president for life. I call him king. He said, no, I'm not the king. I said, yes, you are the king. You're president for life. It's the same thing. But I said, President, you can't do these things. You can't. Remember, they had China 25. That means China was going to take over virtually the whole world economy by 25. I said, that's not a nice sign. I don't want that sign. They took it down. They took down the whole slogan. Probably will be coming back at some point in the near future. But I found it very insulting. I said, I find that very insulting. On day one, we will end Joe Biden's war on American energy. And you will see, when that happens, you will see energy costs come down. And because energy is so big and so important, you will see inflation dropping. You will see it come down. It's a thing of beauty. And you wouldn't think it's that complicated. Now, what has been complicated a little bit is what's happened to so many other things. I believe originally started by this energy disaster. We were $1.87 a gallon for gasoline, and now it's hitting $5, $6, $7, and even $8, and it's going to go really bad. The socialist disaster known as the Green New Deal, which is destroying our country, and the many crippling regulations that it has spawned, will be immediately terminated so that our country can again breathe and grow and thrive like it should. Very, very much hurting our country. Germany tried it, Germany tried it. They were up for about a year. Remember I sent to Angela. Remember Angela? Do you remember Angela? Nobody's remembering her now. Angela Merkel, I sent her a white flag of surrender. She said, but why do you send this to me, Donald? I said, Angela, I send it to you because this is a flag of surrender. You are getting 78% of your energy from Russia. And when that happens, history has proven that it's not good for Germany. Just take a look over the last 150 years. It hasn't been good. What I didn't know would take place so fast. And Germany closed, as you know, all of its coal-powered plants and its nuclear plants. They closed everything, and now they're building coal plants, and they're building them fast. And China's building a coal plant every week. Every week they open up another, and then they talk about all of the things that they do environmentally. They are watching us die with the Green New Deal, with our windmills and with our solar that doesn't have the power to fire up our great factories and our great plants. They are watching us die, and they're laughing as it happens. Remember, economic security is national security, and that's what it is. We need economic security. That is why we will launch an all-out campaign to eliminate America's dependence on China. We will bring our supply chains, which are a disaster right now. You can't get anything, and good luck getting a turkey for Thanksgiving. Number one, you won't get it, and if you do, you're going to pay 3 to 4 times more than you paid last year. But we will bring our supply chains and manufacturing base back home, as we were strongly doing during the Trump administration, and we will systematically bring back wealth, health, and success to the American middle class and to America itself. Please. Yeah, please sit down. I feel so guilty having you stand. No. No, you've been standing for the whole event. I feel very guilty. I don't want that to happen. To every worker and family struggling to survive in the Biden economy with inflation destroying your family and your life, this campaign will be for you. Help is on the way. Joe Biden has abolished America's borders. We are going to restore and secure America's borders just like we had them before, best ever. We built the wall, and now we will add to it. Now, we built the wall, we completed the wall, and then we said, let's do more, and we did a lot more. And as we were doing it, we had an election that came up, and when they came in, they had 3 more weeks to complete the additions to the wall, which would have been great, and they said, no, we're not going to do that. And that's when I realized that they actually want to have this disaster known as open borders. Hard to believe, isn't it? But one of the reasons we had so much success at the border was because of the fact that 2 things. We got Mexico to give us free of charge 28,000 soldiers. That helps. And President of Mexico is a great gentleman, by the way. Socialist, but that's okay. You can't have everything. But he's a great man and a great friend of mine. But 28,000 soldiers while we were building the wall. And then when the wall was finished, that's how we set all these records. We have records that nobody can even compete with. Right now, it's a disaster. I believe it's 10 million people coming in, not 3 or 4 million people. They're pouring into our country. We have no idea who they are and where they come from. We have no idea what's happening to our country. We're being poisoned. Within moments of my inauguration, catch and release will be gone forever. Remain in Mexico. Remain in Mexico, which was so important. Everybody came in here, they remained here, and they never left. You couldn't get them, you couldn't find them. I had a policy, remain in Mexico. And if you think it was easy for me to get the president of Mexico to agree to that, it wasn't, but we got it. And they terminated it, can you believe? So now they come in here, they stay, and we have no idea where they are. They get lost, and it's very dangerous for our country. And again, I'll say, we're going to pay a big price someday for what they're doing. We will begin the process of safely.
All right, you've been listening into former President Donald Trump there, making it official, announcing that he will run for president in 2024.
Are you shitting me?
We have another kind of vantage point in the room there you can see. I'm Andrew Kraft. Thanks so much for being with us on this Tuesday night. So I just want to offer up the split screen. This is what's happening right now. In Bali, in Indonesia, President Biden, he's meeting with world leaders, members of the G20, and the split screen there, a world away in Bali to where we were just showing you in southern Florida, in Palm Beach, with former president. We're going to be...
It was just 2 years ago. Biden and the radical left had let loose this total breakdown of law and order. It was
Fox for you.
Total breakdown of law and order. I will restore public safety in American cities and other communities that need our help. And if they don't want our help, we're going to insist that they take our help this time. Because, you know, the Democrat governors, these are all Democrat cities. The governors and mayors are supposed to ask for the help, and they would never ask for the help. And yet people are being shot and killed at random like nobody's ever seen before. And we sent in the National Guard in Minneapolis and in other places. In Seattle, we went and we were getting ready to go, and they took over part of the city. And the governors, the Democrats, don't want to ever ask to do anything because they don't want to shake things up. In the meantime, the cities are rotting, and they are indeed cesspools of blood. So we're going to go and help them even if they don't want the help. We will give our police back their authority, resources, power, legal protection, and we will give them back their respect. They're great people. And I will immediately launch a no-holds-barred national campaign to dismantle the gangs and clean out the nests of organized street crime. You know, the worst criminals, the worst gangs are MS-13. And under the Barack Hussein Obama administration, they were unable to take them out because their countries where they came from wouldn't take them. And I learned about that in my first day, I actually say. But I learned about it, and I said, which countries? And it was Honduras and Guatemala. It was El Salvador, some others. And I said, how much do we pay them? Sir, you pay them $750 million a year. That's a lot of money. I said, all right, stop payment. We're not paying them anymore because they wouldn't accept them. They would put planes on the runway. So when our plane would come out with these gang members from MS-13.
My mic is up. It must be this YouTube video. Let me find a new one.
Through their borders because they had stronger borders than we did by far. They had borders. We don't have borders. They had borders. Other countries. Say, is there anything we can do? Yeah, you're not taking your MS-13 gang members back that you sent to us. In the caravans, I love the name. I came up with it. I love the name. The caravans, thousands and thousands of people. And in those caravans, you have some rough people. I said, you're not taking them back. Well, we didn't know that this was a problem, sir. Is there anything we can do? I said, yeah, take them back. We would be glad to take them back, sir. They took them back. I still didn't give them the 750, but that's okay. And by the way, now Biden wants to give them $4 billion. They were happy with $750, and now they want to give them $4 billion. Somebody someday is going to explain that one to me. It actually makes you rage with anger when you hear that. They wanted $750 so badly, and now they're getting $4 billion. We will wage war upon the cartels and stop. And I will ask Congress for legislation ensuring that drug dealers and human traffickers, these are terrible, terrible, terrible people who are responsible.
I know, in Contango, it's tough watching someone who can actually read, unlike your boy Biden, who would just be mumbling to himself and then sniffing underage girls' hair. I know it's a little different.
People with the drugs they sell, not to mention the destruction of families. But we're going to be asking everyone who sells drugs, gets caught selling drugs, to receive the death penalty for their heinous acts, because it's the only way. We don't need any more blue ribbon committees. We don't need, I don't like to say this, and I don't even know if the American public is ready for it. And a lot of my people say, please don't say that, sir. That's not nice. They kill 500 people each on average. And if you don't do this, in China, when I was with President Xi, I said, President, do you have a drug problem? No, 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 we don't. He looked at me like I didn't know what I was doing. He said, no, we don't have a drug. How come you don't have a drug problem? He said, quick trial. What is a quick trial? I sort of knew. What is a quick trial? That's where, if you get caught dealing drugs, you have an immediate and quick trial, and by the end of the day, you're executed. That's a terrible thing. But they have no drug problem. The only drug problem they have is they make the fentanyl that comes into our country, and I had him stopping it. And then when I was gone, nobody ever mentioned it to him again. We were stopping it. That was way down, that number, but they send it in. But they don't have a drug problem. Other countries, like Singapore, has no drug problem. No drug. You ask them, they don't even know what you're talking about when they say drug problem. They don't even know what you're talking about. They have no drug problem. And why should they sell there and risk their lives every time they sell when they can come to the United States and nobody even cares? They can do whatever they want to do and become rich. It's a disgrace. So if you want to get rid of that and also bring down your level of crime, probably 75 or 80%, that's the only answer. No more blue ribbon. I refuse to create them anymore. They were just a joke. It was New York people wanting to be on a committee for publicity reasons. No more blue ribbon committees. That's the only way you're going to solve the problem. And I hope politicians are listening, because they should do it quickly. Joe Biden has also proven that he is committed to indoctrinating our children, even using the Department of Justice against parents who object. It's a terrible thing that's happening. It's so sad what's happening. When I'm in the White House, our schools will cease pushing critical race theory, as they were. Radical civics and gender insanity. Or if they do that, they will lose all federal funding, but we'll get them to stop. And I will be the president who finally fixes education in America. We were doing great. We were starting to really get it right. We will not let men, as an example, participate in women's sports. Is that okay? No men. No men. My people tell me, sir, that's politically incorrect to say. I said, that's okay, I'll say it anyway, if you don't mind. We've had tremendous problems, and you know, it's very unfair to women, just very, very unfair. We will defend the rights of parents, and we will defend the family as the center of American life. But who would think, standing up here, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, that a politician, and I don't like to think of myself as a politician, but I guess that's what I am. I hate that thought. But that a politician would be up saying we will defend parental rights. Of course you're going to defend it. Who would think that we even have to mention this? Who would think it even should be a subject to be talked about? We have to defend parental rights. Can you believe this? As commander-in-chief, I will get Biden's radical left ideology out of our military, and I did. I did. And in the first day, they put it back. They signed an executive order, and they put it back. It was gone. We will abolish every Biden COVID mandate and rehire every patriot who was fired from our military with an apology and full back pay. Thank you. And they deserve an apology, and they deserve full back pay, and they'll get it. And unlike Biden possibly getting us into World War III, which can seriously happen, I will keep America out of foolish and unnecessary foreign wars, just as I did for 4 straight years. We will again have peace through strength. That's all it is. As events overseas have shown, to protect our people from the unthinkable threat of nuclear weapons and hypersonic missiles, the United States must also build a state-of-the-art, next-generation missile defense shield. We need it. The power of these missiles and the power of a word that I refuse to say, nuclear. We have to have it. We need a defense shield, and we have to do it. And we actually have the technology, and we're going to build it. Just as I rebuilt our military, I will get this done. I rebuilt our entire military, which nobody talks about. When I got there, we had jet fighters that were 48 years old. We had bombers that were 60 years old. We had bombers where their grandfathers flew them when they were new. And now the grandchild is flying the bomber, but not anymore. But as I have said before, the gravest threats to our civilization are not from abroad, but from within. None is greater than the weaponization of the justice system, the FBI, and the DOJ. We must conduct a top-to-bottom overhaul to clean out the festering rot and corruption of Washington, D.C. Thank you. And I'm a victim, I will tell you. I'm a victim. Think of it. The FBI offered $1 million to Christopher Steele, who wrote the fake dossier, if he will lie and say that the fake dossier was true. And he refused to do it, so it had to be really fake. And then they hired somebody, Demchenko, for $200,000 a year to focus on Trump and to get Trump and other things, including the raid of a very beautiful house that sits right here. The raid of Mar-a-Lago, think of it. And I say, why didn't you raid Bush's place? Why didn't you raid Clinton? 32,000 emails. Why didn't you raid Clinton's place? Why didn't you do Obama, who took a lot of things with him? We will dismantle the deep state and restore government by the people. To further drain the swamp, I will push for a constitutional amendment to impose term limits on members of Congress. It's time. It's time. And I will ask for a permanent ban on taxpayer funding of campaigns, a lifetime ban on lobbying by former members of Congress and cabinet members. No, I see what they make. They leave the White House or they leave Congress, and they're paid millions and millions and millions of dollars a year. No, you have to have a ban. We want a ban on members of Congress getting rich by trading stocks with insider information. And many of our great members agree with that. They actually agree with that. And of course, we will do whatever it takes to bring back honesty, confidence, and trust in our elections. To eliminate cheating, I will immediately demand voter ID, same-day voting, and only paper ballots. Only paper ballots. France just had an election. 36 million people voted. It was all done by 10 o'clock in the evening. No complaints. You had a winner, you had a loser. The loser went home. The winner, he's a friend of mine, nice guy. But he was happy. But there was no complaints. And if there is a complaint, you check it out, and you can fix it very easily. You can find out what's going on. No, paper ballots, same-day voting, voter ID. So simple. And we want all votes counted by election night. They spend all of the money for machines and all of this stuff, and they end up 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later. By that time, everyone forgot there was even an election. It's horrible. And this doesn't happen. I said it before. It doesn't happen in third world countries. They do better than we do. It's horrible what's happening with our election and election process. And I'll get that job done. That's a very personal job for me. I take that very personally. But this is just the beginning of our national greatness agenda, and that's what we call it, a national greatness agenda, because our country can be greater than it ever was. Our country was great. Our country's not great anymore. Our country's a laughingstock right now. But our country can be greater than it ever was before, by a lot. There will be more, much more to come in the months ahead. There are so many things we can do. Many of them are not even hard to implement. The journey ahead of us will not be easy. Anyone who truly seeks to take on this rigged and corrupt system will be faced with a storm of fire that only a few could understand, right? I happen to have some children in the front row. They understand. In fact, my one boy, stand up, Eric. I think he got more subpoenas than any man in the history of our country. So unfair. Al Capone, you all heard of the great gangster? Al Capone got far less. Billy the Kid got almost none. Jesse James, no. Eric Trump got more subpoenas. He's a PhD in subpoenas. They come from Congress. And I appreciate the job you do and the abuse that you've taken. I really do. And it hasn't been a joyride for our great First Lady either. It hasn't been a joyride. Stand up, honey. I go home and she says, they do love her. I go home and she says, you look angry and upset. I say, just leave me alone. Hasn't been the easiest thing, but she's been a great First Lady and people love her. We will be resisted by the combined forces of the establishment, the media, the special interests, the globalists, the Marxist radicals, the woke corporations, the weaponized power of the federal government, the colossal political machines, the tidal wave of dark money, and the most dangerous domestic censorship system ever created by man or woman, the most dangerous system we've ever had. We will be attacked, we will be slandered, we will be persecuted just as I have been. I mean, I have been, but many people in this room have been. But we will not be intimidated. We will persevere. We will stand tall in the storm. We will march forward into the torrent. And we, in the end, will win. Our country will win. We will win. My fellow Americans, we will join together and reverse this staggering American decline, and it is staggering indeed, and we will again restore the spirit of our nation. And then we must build and raise up a legacy that will stand without equal in the entire history of the world. With your help, we will create communities where our children will grow up safe and strong, and a nation where they will grow up free, prosperous, and well. We will reestablish the principles of hard work and merit and end the scourge of homelessness that is plaguing our beleaguered Democrat-run cities. We will heal our divisions and bring our people back together through incredible success. We will defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We will expand the frontiers of human knowledge and extend the horizons of human achievement. And we will plant our beautiful American flag very soon on the surface of Mars, which I got started. But we need everyone involved. We need everyone's help. We need to look out for one another. We need to be friends. And we need every patriot on board. Because this is not just a campaign. This is a quest to save our country. Talking about saving our country. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I am asking for your vote. I am asking for your support. And I am asking for your friendship and your prayers on this very incredible but dangerous journey. If our movement remains united and confident, then we will shatter the forces of tyranny and we will unleash the glories of liberty for ourselves and for our children and for generations yet to come. America's golden age is just ahead, and together we will make America powerful again. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America strong again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. We will make America glorious again. And we will make America great again. Thank you very much. God bless you all. Thank you. We will make...
No. There we go. All right, that's done. So what did I think of the speech? Mostly good. A couple things that I could critique. First thing that's funny is if you go to Twitter and you watch people, it's funny seeing the juxtaposition of just how, even a speech like that, how partisan things are, because you have the people that are saying like, oh, this is so low energy. And then you have people like, well, this is very presidential. Trump gave speeches like this. His State of the Union speeches were like this. And let's be honest, this is a written speech. This is less off the cuff. Now, Trump still goes off the cuff. I didn't think his off the cuff stuff here was his best work, but it wasn't anything catastrophic either. So when he's like, Jesse James, Billy the Kid, no subpoena, that's him going off the cuff. The talking about the policies and the topics and stuff like that, that's pre-written. So it's hard to judge, just for what it is. I think it was presidential sounding, but I do agree with the criticism that it doesn't have the fire that a lot of people really like about Trump. I think there's a nice middle ground. I think he could be fiery, but not overly boisterously like an ass, like sometimes happens. If I had to rate this speech, I would give it 8 out of 10. I don't think it's a fantastic speech in the upper echelons of political speeches I've ever heard. But with Trump here, it was more about what he didn't say that's the big story. He didn't attack DeSantis. He didn't even attack McConnell. He didn't attack any Republicans. All of his focus was on Joe Biden, Democrats, which is smart. That's what he's going to have to do. He will have to go head-to-head with DeSantis and Mike Pompeo and Mike Pence and people like that. But he needs, at least with the people that are tangentially close to him on policy, such as DeSantis, he needs to rip him in a more almost fun-loving way. He needs to make the case like, look, Ron's doing a great job as governor. He needs to stay being governor. A lot of this came from him, sort of my support of him and him watching what I was doing, and I think that's great. But we need someone who's been there, someone that's a fighter, etc., etc. Now, I know it won't be that way. He'll go off the cuff again, and he'll get, there'll be shitty insults and things like that. I don't think it hurts him to insult, Jeb Bush like that. Jeb Bush, for example, was on Twitter as this was going, saying this was low energy. Fuck Jeb Bush. Screw the Bushes. Screw, I don't care. I don't care about the establishment Republicans. They suck. So that was the best part of the speech was he didn't attack DeSantis. You could tell that they were thinking carefully when they wrote this speech. That the message has to not just be, we got screwed. And that was the problem with Trump. He does make things too personal. Now, you might say, well, if he really thinks the 2020 election was stolen from him, how could you not make that personal? Well, there's a way to talk about election security without coming off as, I'm mad because they screwed me. It's okay to mention that, but your primary focus has to be, look, this needs to be secure for the future. People have to have faith in elections. This process has to work. Talking about the changes that you run in. Nationalizing elections is a difficult proposition. He said that he wanted to do a lot of things that, quite frankly, he just won't have the authority to do. Nationalizing elections would be one of those. I don't know that that's the best idea, but I don't disagree with paper ballots, same-day voting, things of that nature. He didn't spend a lot of time there. He spent a lot of time talking about what Republicans should have been talking about going into the midterms. And if you heard me, I said there are 5 issues that Republicans need to be talking about. The economy, the lockdowns, crime, the border, and our children. That's basically the 5 Trump hit. I don't think that's shocking at all to me. I came up with those 5 not because I'm a genius, but because it was evident that those 5 were a cohesive group of the issues that the plurality of Americans cared about. Now, my big issue is corruption, and Trump did talk about corruption there. But his primary focus was talking about bringing jobs back to America, bringing manufacturing back to America, reducing inflation, stopping crime, securing the border, stopping fentanyl deaths. And he did talk slightly about the issues with kids, indoctrinations in schools, athletics, etc. Criticisms of the speech, way too long. For me, he could have done this speech in 30 minutes and it would have been much better. You just start to lose people when it goes on that long. So I did think that was... and you're right. Brevity is the soul of wit. And I'm saying that as someone who can't shut my damn mouth ever. Everything I do is way too long. So I'm not criticizing Trump for something that I'm better at. But a pre-written speech like that, you're able to control the time more. So I thought 30 to 35 minutes would have been a good amount of time. It's hard to keep people's attention and enthusiasm going for that long. So I don't think his writers suck. I thought it was an okay speech. They were wrong to go. Like I said, to me, it's obvious that the biggest story coming out of this speech is what he didn't say about DeSantis or McConnell or any of the other Republicans. He's going to try to rebrand himself as listen, I could bring the Republicans together. It's going to be a fine line to walk, though, because in his nature, he's going to talk about terrible Republicans that screwed him over, which he's right. But for the sake of winning 2024, he's going to have to build that coalition. Yeah, I would say that there is a 99% chance that this sort of Trump that you saw today is not going to be the Trump you see on a daily basis. Let's say hypothetically, and I would say that the chances of this happening are pretty high, Elon Musk is going to let Trump back on Twitter. The question is, will Trump decide that he wants to come back on Twitter, or will he think that'll hurt his Truth Social platform? But there's no question in my mind, Trump's tweets or his whatever the hell they call comments on Truth Social, he can't help himself. It's weird because as much as some people, and there are times that it really pisses me off, that for example, when he was attacking Rosie O'Donnell, that's stupid. What are you doing? Rosie who? Next question. You're the president, You don't lower yourself to that level. Not the end of the world, but that's how I always felt about that sort of stuff. But the same people that complain, it's very much, I hate to use a sports analogy, but it's very much like when we interview athletes, right? And interviews after the game with athletes are the most boring shit ever because you know what they're going to say. Your receiver dropped that ball. Do you blame them for the loss? I could have done more. It's on me. We win as a team. We lose as a team. We got to get back in there. I'm proud of my team. They did great. That's not how they're always thinking. Sometimes they're thinking, yeah, they sucked. I busted my ass and he dropped that pass in the end zone. But no one says that. But then every once in a while, someone goes a little off script, like Marshawn Lynch or Richard Sherman, and everybody loses their mind. Oh, you can't say that. Well, we ask for authenticity, and then when you get it, it's like, eh. Certainly that's better than any Joe Biden speech that he's given because just from the technical nature of it, Trump could get through a speech and Biden can't. For example, Trump wasn't reading, things on the teleprompter like sentence over and things of that nature. So it's humorous to see Biden supporters that will want to criticize Trump's speaking ability for being low energy. I can understand how Biden supporters would be confused by this speech. For example, Trump didn't sniff little kids' hair before or after the speech. That would be confusing. But I don't get it. When you're up giving a political stump speech, aren't you supposed to say that you'll get in trouble if you take questions from the wrong people because your people told you that, and then not know how to exit the stage and then sniff little girls' hair? That's how presidents give speeches, right? Yeah. Yeah, but Biden got through most of his "everyone who voted against me is an evil terrorist" speech. He did all right with that, I guess. He didn't stumble that much. They must have had him on some good meds that day. Ultimately, everybody looks good the day they're announcing. Ron DeSantis looks really good in his speeches. Democrats, you want to see Democrats that gave good speeches. Obama gave good speeches. Michelle Obama gave good speeches. Biden's not very good at it. There are others. There have been times where I thought Buttigieg gave good speeches. But that's such a small part. Everybody sounds good when they're reading a pre-written speech. It's weird that the way we grade Trump on these things is did he make any huge unforced errors? I thought he said all the right things. He focused on the right topics. There were a couple things it's and I commented a little bit. This idea that he picked 120 of the people he supported won. Yeah, that's easy. I could have I supported Glenn Thompson. No shit. He's in a huge conservative district. Thanks, Mick Linebacker, for the resub. Really appreciate it. He's in a, overwhelmingly conservative district. He's the incumbent. No one ran against him. Yeah, he won. But I don't know that I would be chalking that up as, Rob Noer's, the people Rob supported endorsed. Okay. The truth is, as much as Trump, and you expect him to do this, particularly in a speech like this, but as much as he wants to massage it, many of the people he picked lost. Many of it's because of the establishment GOP wanted them to lose. Mitch McConnell didn't want Blake Masters to win. Mitch McConnell would rather be the head of a minority party than just a team member in the majority party. And he's afraid of too many America First type people win seats in the Republican House and Senate that they'll say, we don't want McConnell as leader. He talked a little about election security, but he didn't make it too much about him, which is what you need to do. It's a very weird thing. People don't, again, go back to sports. There are no doubt athletic competitions in the NBA, NFL, Major League Baseball, etc., where cheating has occurred. We know that. But we also don't like people whining. And when I say we, I just mean in general. So, the Astros won the World Series there a couple years ago, and then there was this big scandal that they were stealing signs and, using video equipment in illegal ways to do this. But no one wants to hear the Yankees constantly, or, whoever, we got cheated. People are like, okay, it's over with. It was years ago. Move on. You'll see my face tomorrow. Once I get home to my home office. So, I thought he ran a fine line there. He needs to, when he discusses election security going forward, there are certain things that, again, you always have to look at how you could make a particular issue a benefit to your side, or how you could play defense when the other side's making an issue. Election security is one of those issues that could go either way. You could either correctly tap into something that people are like, yeah, something's messed up here, or you could get painted as a violent extremist that's a sore loser that's spurring an insurrection, or anywhere in between. I think the best way to go is to focus on things that are easily provable. It is absurd that we have elections that take days upon days to count. It is absurd what happened in Nevada and Maricopa. It's crazy. Machines breaking down, long lines, people that are on the ballot being in charge of counting the ballots. Those things are easy, right? You could be someone that's annoyed. Let's say you're an independent moderate or moderate left-winger, and you're in Arizona in 2021, and you might think, yeah, I don't particularly like how the election went down here, but I don't see that as absolute fraud and absolute cheating. I just think there are things that we need to work out. I think that even moderates would agree, and left-wingers could agree with that. And so you put your focus there, and if you secure that, hypothetically, you're able to secure not just fraud, but also make the elections more streamlined and people to have more faith in them. Again, I'm on YouTube. I'm not really talking about election fraud. So ultimately, it was an okay speech. You know, I think he's right that the message has to be, you know, the economy, crime, the border, the indoctrination of children's, lockdowns. You know, lockdowns are tough. Key Lime said it. It's funny how both sides want to say, you know, the Democrats want to be like, Republicans were terrible with COVID and then we're great for the economic bounce back. That's bullshit. And Trump wants to be like, oh, right when I left office, we saw the stock market, everything was making good gains. One of the fastest growing economies ever. That, again, is bullshit. It is. It just is. If you embrace lockdowns, lock down huge sectors of our economy, causing incredible financial pain to people, and then it comes back to 30 to 40% of that level, you say, well, look how fast it's growing. Yeah, well, okay, whatever. So ultimately, good that he didn't attack DeSantis. You know, I do think that the speech was a little long. It seemed low energy, but that's okay. What's funny is, ask yourself this. How many Trump supporters are going to leave Trump for being, quote, low energy in these sorts of speeches and press conferences? Very, very little. Very little. The people that are Trump supporters aren't going to leave him because he's not picking on Jim Acosta at the rally or calling out Mike Pence. They're not. But he could gain people by sounding less unhinged. Right, the stock market was higher after Trump left office than it was before. Right. That's true. I'm not disagreeing with that. What I'm saying is, it is clear that economically we weren't in a better place when Trump left office after COVID than we were before COVID. One small measure, stock market, is not indicative of how Americans were feeling. I know. I lived it. And what he said was that it grew fast. Right. This is a criticism I have of Biden. When you hit rock bottom, then it's easy to say with just some small increases, look how fast we're growing. So, it'll be interesting. You know, I thought the ideal situation was somehow him and DeSantis coming together. I don't think that's going to happen. I think that DeSantis will run, and he should run. You know, if you're looking at it through DeSantis' eyes, you know, be reasonable. There's two ways to look at it. One, there's the selfish way. If you want to be president, now's the time with DeSantis. His stock's never going to be higher. Anything could happen. He could have an illness. Something bad could happen in Florida. There could be a scandal. Whatever. Anything could happen. So if your stock's high and you want to be president, run. And I don't necessarily disagree with that. But even if you're looking at it for, you know, let's assume DeSantis is good and DeSantis wants to be sort of a populist and wants to out corruption, and he's a fighter like Trump. Maybe DeSantis says, look, Trump sounds good, but he had 4 years. Did he end the corruption? No. So I want to be the guy. I think I'll do better. Maybe that's how DeSantis feels. I'll have more predictions on that sort of stuff here in the near future. So we got a half hour of the show left, and what I was going to talk about, I forgot that Trump speech was tonight. is part 2 of my series, The Midterm Disaster for the Republicans. Or the letdown, I guess is a better word. Pointing the finger. Who is the blame? Episode 1 was me. You can go back and watch that from last night. I want to talk about Trump himself, the establishment GOP, your McConnells, the people that are running the GOP in states like Pennsylvania. I'll wait until I'm in my home office for that. So because I'm just doing an audio-only show, I thought I would take another group, and I thought that it was fitting to blame another group, which I'm sort of part of, which are Trump supporters, conservatives. But I'm also lumping in QAnon here in this half hour that we'll talk about it. The single biggest issue as to why Republicans lost is because of the mass change in voting. And again, I can't talk about fraud because I'm on YouTube. So let's just put discussions of fraud to the side. And let's just, for the sake of this, say that when I'm talking about mass mail-in voting and things, there doesn't even need to be fraud. Just the mechanism itself is going to favor the Democrats because of geography. It's easy to harvest ballots in a city. It's hard to harvest ballots spread over a wide area. And I talked about this. What this is leading to is the indifferent voter. Their voice is now being amplified. People that wouldn't vote otherwise, they don't really care. They're just whatever. Their neighbor told them, hey, vote. And they were like, sure, the ballot's here. I'll fill it out. Here you go. Take it to the mailbox. Those sorts of voters are in the bank for Democrats. They do ballot harvesting, legal and illegal ballot harvesting, very well. And we could blame the Democrat. Oh, well, it's shady and blah, blah, blah. The rules are the rules. And they're playing that game. Republicans, like in my state of Pennsylvania, decided to vote for the change of rules, then decided to complain about the change of rules in 2020, then decided to not work within the new rules going into 2022. That's on them. We'll be talking about Republican leadership in Pennsylvania. But conversations of candidate quality and, Trump, there's a lot to blame. But that's the biggest issue. Republicans basically have to run a perfect campaign in a litany of ways at this point to win these large statewide elections or a national election. So it's worth talking about a litany of things. Now, I bring this up in this discussion talking about conservatives, some of them, and QAnon. Come with me on a journey back to March of 2020. I was volunteering for the Trump campaign. I had my little computer set up where I could do the robocalls. I was doing that. I was going to events. I was offered a job by the Trump campaign, very low level, which I've talked about before. Part of the conditions of that job was I had to end my streaming. I said no. Thought I could do more good through my streaming, and I didn't want to end my streaming. I didn't. Some people, more power to you. If robocalls and knocking on doors is your thing, for me, I like doing the streaming. Three or 4 days after I turned that job down, Trump went on national television and criticized Georgia's Governor Kemp and Sweden for not locking down. And he said that the states that were doing it well were Newsom in California and Cuomo in New York. And I started doing video after video of how effing stupid that was. And I was glad that I turned down that job from Trump, because then I would have had to have bite my lip, or from Trump's campaign. I don't want to make it sound like I was on the phone with Trump. But I'm glad I turned that down. And if you don't believe me, here's just a look of some of the videos I was doing. You'll see it says 2 years ago. There's May 14th was that. Tell the tyrant sentenced nursing home patients to die we won't accept any further tyranny. Norway health chief admits lockdowns were excessive and a mistake. Don't blindly give up your rights to the government. And if I go to Odyssey, because I had to delete so many videos about COVID, you can see way more of them. So I was doing these live streams. I was on a website called Above Top Secret. Above Top Secret was a conspiracy theory, a lot of aliens and Bigfoot type stuff. It'd been around for a long, long time. We got on it as a joke, sort of, in 2003, our debate team. We thought it was funny. And then over time it became a lot of political conspiracies. And then it just became, what I used it for was just talking politics. And that's still, I'll chime in every once in a while to Above Top Secret. And so if you watch my videos from March of 2020, or if you go to Above Top Secret and see what I was typing, I understood that big government socialist Democrat voters were ecstatic with the proposed solutions to COVID. Because the proposed solution, just like with climate change, the proposed solutions are always things that they wanted anyways. Yay, more government control over your life. That's what they want. I'm not shocked when a big government socialist says, we think that you should have to take this vaccine to go to work. Not shocked. I expect it. That's what they want. They want total government control over your life. I am a pod person. I got a bigger phone, so my fat fingers, when I'm on my phone typing, I'm a little more accurate. What shocked me was the amount of Trump supporters and constitutional conservatives that flipped out on me. Now, people want to rewrite history now. Now they want to say, Democrats did the lockdowns. They did. That's true. And Democrats were worse on lockdowns than Republicans. But Republicans went along with it. And Trump went along with it. I was calling Trump out because he was fucking up. In a huge way. The tyranny that came about, the lies, the treatment of people like crap, because they didn't want to lose their small business, because they wanted to go to church, because they wanted to see their loved ones, is something that I'll never forget my entire life. That horrible authoritarian garbage that was so predictable to see how it would be exploited, that stands on its own as being horrible. But from the perspective of Trump, I have been warning up to a year prior to that one of the game plans that Democrats would do would be to intentionally collapse the economy. They weren't even hiding it. Bill Maher was praying for a recession. That's what they wanted. They wanted violence in the street. That's why the Democratic governors and mayors stood down. They wanted to force Trump's hand. They wanted him to send in the National Guard so they could say, see, authoritarian. Notice, after January 6th, no problem with sending in the Nat. They didn't care. They'll use the Guard as their weapon. They'll use the military as their weapon. And they'll allow and encourage the riots to occur, hoping that Trump would respond to it. And I said, if you think that they're willing to do that, but not willing, to have some short-term economic pain, you're nuts. Trump paid lip service to the very thing that cost him that 2020 election. That's why the economy didn't fall to shit because of COVID. It got terrible because of the reaction to COVID. Worldwide. Now we know the people that were pushing it, like Dr. Fauci, probably had a hand in providing funding for the very institute that probably created COVID. Isn't that convenient? The guy that was telling us we shouldn't be allowed to send our kids to school. We shouldn't be allowed to go visit our loved ones in nursing homes. We needed to sacrifice more. Turns out, not only was he getting incredibly famous and wealthy with his newfound power, but he was also covering up that if you had to point the finger at someone in the United States, he'd be right at the top of the list. I saw how they would use this emergency to install authoritarianism, to get Trump out of office, and to have authoritarian policies that they would not want to let go of, just like the Patriot Act. I didn't predict initially that it would result in a mass change of voting, which would make it nigh impossible for Republicans to win, but once I saw the change to mail-in ballots, I was saying that. In fact, I said on my show, the day that Pennsylvania voted that signatures no longer had to match ballots, I knew that Trump had lost Pennsylvania. I knew Republicans lost. That was it. So why am I blaming Trump supporters and QAnon people? Trump was one of the most malleable politicians I've ever seen because he wasn't an ideologue. And that could be good or that could be bad. But Trump, like the bump stock issue, was willing to listen to his base and adjust because he wasn't an ideologue. And as I was screaming in the wilderness on my little show with 40 and 50 people watching, Trump, you're screwing up. What are you doing? This lockdown crap is terrible. QAnon people and other Trump supporters were in droves commenting on my posts that I made or coming onto my channel saying things like this. We knew that you were Coinal Pro. We knew that you're controlled opposition. We knew you were a secret Democrat operative. That's what they told me. By the way, it wasn't the first time. That's what they told me when I criticized Trump for not firing Bill Barr and releasing all of the evidence of the FBI corruption against him unredacted. They said, Rob, trust the plan. Trust the plan, Rob. Oh boy, look at you out there pointing out corruption and saying that Trump's screwing up by not doing anything. It's time to get a fruity cocktail, get some sangria or something, go to the beach, get your best beach shorts out and just relax. Everything is over. Trust the plan. Military tribunals. Hillary will be locked up before the election. Everything is golden. How'd that work out? By the way, the Q people are still saying it. They're still saying it. I was arguing with one the other day. They said the new date, when are the big booms coming? January 2023. Big booms. See, Hillary's really locked up, and so's Joe Biden. And what you see now are just clones or puppets. But the real Hillary and Joe Biden are in prison. It's unreal. Now, I'm not one to pick on conspiracy theorists. I certainly believe I've been called a conspiracy theorist myself. Hell, the worst conspiracy theory I've ever heard is widely accepted by every institution in this country, and that's that Jeffrey Epstein killed himself. Bullshit. But if you can't see at this point, in 2022, after Republicans again have a disappointing election, that there's not some huge secretive plan that it's all going to work out and we could just sit in our laurels, and that you're actually doing more damage because you could have actually been out there pushing and helping to push for real meaningful change, but instead you sat back and you LARPed online because it made you feel cool, then I don't know what to say to you. If you're doing it for the lulz and because it's fun, more power to you. But stay the fuck out of the way. Then there were non-Q people, but they were pushing the sort of, 15 days to slow the spread. And how are you feeling today? How are you feeling? Conservative commentators were a dime a dozen. 15 days to slow the spread. I was on panels with them. I was getting mocked and ridiculed. It wasn't the popular thing to say at the beginning of COVID. And I said, wait and see. Wait and see what happens. Where are those people today? Where are they at? I'll get to the politicians in a future episode, but where are the people that supported them? Where are they? Now they're out there, tough guys now. I don't trust the vaccine. That damn lockdown, the lockdown Democrats, blah, blah, blah. Hey, don't sell yourself short, buddy. You were right there with them. And there's an awful lot of them. I'll give you a name. Ian Miles Cheong on Twitter. Ian put up a little 20-second Twitter video when people like me were like, man, you're going to devastate the economy with the lockdowns. And this is what his video was. The economy. The economy. The economy. I shit you not. Mocking people that were like, this is going to lead to economic devastation. Now Ian Miles is out there saying, oh boy, lockdowns were horrible and the economy and oh man. And he's got way more of a following than I'll have. That shit's easy. Anyone could be Johnny come lately, put your finger up, judge the winds, and say, this is what I should say today. I would be a bigger channel if I came on here and spouted QAnon bullshit and said Trump's never wrong, Republicans are never wrong, the MAGA people are never wrong. But that's not who I am. It's not just a small amount of people. There were many, many people, even those that call themselves Republicans, conservatives, Trump supporters, etc., that were all in on, we can't ask questions, 15 days to slow the spread. That's the end of it. And they get pissed when you bring it up. Some of them have acknowledged, yeah, I was wrong. That's fine. I don't think those people should be trusted in positions of leadership. This wasn't a, oh, well, no big deal moment. People died. The economy's in shambles. The tyranny is incredible. Republicans now are going to have trouble winning any national election. It's going to be far more difficult. So, oh, my bad, doesn't really cut it. But at least that's a start. And the reason that it's important to bring this up is two things. One, because it feels good to say, I told you so. That's number one. But the more important reason is, if people can't admit that they were wrong that time, then the next time that it comes up, what are they going to do? COVID might have killed 2.2 million, but climate change will kill us all. So time for lockdowns. Eat the bugs. And they'll be right there going, Rob, 15 days. Come on, just 15 days, man. That'll change with these people. Not until they admit, yeah, I was wrong. So that's who I wanted to blame today. Now, I want to say a couple words, kind of what I was saying last night, because I do think that it's something that people need to hear, and there's not a lot of this going on. You're going to hear me talk in the next 2 to 3 weeks. It's some very depressing stuff. The future of the country looks bleak. I think that something that I should have been talking about more, this diesel fuel shortage, we're seeing signs that seem to suggest, that the Democrats knew and the Biden administration knew that they were trying their best to artificially prop up the economy until after the midterm, and now things are probably going to get much worse. Amazon laying people off for, the cyber whatever weekend bullshit or whatever, the holiday seasons, when's their biggest time. We saw Biden groveling to OPEC, asking them to just keep producing until after the midterms. By the way, that's quid pro quo. I thought that was impeachable. But no, not when Biden does it. There's a significant chance that no matter who's nominated in the Republican Party in 2024, that they don't really have a shot to win. And even if they do have a shot to win, that's probably because they've given up to the establishment. So even if they win, nothing will change. It's bleak. But remember, your life's more important. Your loved ones, your family, that stuff's more important. Culture's more important. Your local elections are more important. Don't listen to this shit and get depressed. Laugh at the absurdity of it. They elected a dead man in Pennsylvania. And that wasn't even the worst thing the Democrats did in Pennsylvania. They elected a walking stroke meme. Laugh at their asses. Understand that the people that supported this shit, like the Martha's Vineyard people, they'll cry as soon as they have to deal with a slight amount of the repercussions of how they vote. It's not fair. We don't want them here. The radical people, the victimhood culture of these young people that you see that want to cancel you, not all of them, there's a lot of great young people, but the ones that are terrible, that are actually advocating for cancel culture, they're so fragile. Don't envy their life. So what? They think that they voted for people that will support their issues. Spoiler alert, they won't. The establishment Democrat Party doesn't give a shit about those people. They don't care. They're voting for their own demise. That's what they're doing. So laugh at them. Don't get depressed. We're not those assholes that were out there screaming at the sky because Trump got elected because the whole world fell apart. Tried our best, lost the election. Okay, you get back to work the next day. That's it. Take some time off politics if you need. That's cool. But, this doomer shit, where people are just depressed, that ain't me. It's not me. And again, I challenge people to watch me and when I was doing live election night in 2020 and 2022. I'm not going to hide the fact that I'm disappointed. I'm not. But I wasn't freaking out. So I just wanted to bring that up again. I know that's sort of a repeat from last night, but I do think it's an important message. Don't go do something stupid. Don't totally give up hope and become depressed. There's a lot of great things in life. Tomorrow, I'll either talk about Trump or I'll talk about the GOP establishment. Thursday, I have an interview with Libertarian Casimir. Friday will probably be a normal show. I'll probably... Look, there's a lot of issues I didn't talk about today, you know. Continue to inch closer to World War III. Did Russia bomb Poland? Well, even though that's what Twitter told us all day, looks like probably not. The second largest Democrat donor was involved in a crypto Ponzi scheme. Yay! Oh well. Oh, what's that? Ukraine was using FTX as well? Yay! Thanks, Mike Pompeo. Thanks, Mitch McConnell. Glad we could send billions there. Oh, I saw, by the way, they're now asking for another $30 billion to go to Ukraine. Yay! Woo! Oh, shit, I should have changed my background to a blue and yellow flag. Ah! People scared to leave their houses in Philadelphia and New York. They voted en masse to send money to Ukraine. Ah! It's hilarious. Candidates matter, says the people voting for a kitty sniffer and a stroke meme. By the way, someone did get me good. They signed me up for like Fetterman's mail list. I get his emails all the time. I don't even delete them. I think they're funny. This is Fetterman. This one just says, "Yikes! Donald Trump announces his 2024 presidential campaign bid in a bid to seize early..." Wait, I'll show you. Oh, Fetterman still raising money. Good job, Fetterman. Something tells me Fetterman didn't send this email, write it up himself. Just a hunch. Just a guess. Yikes! First, Donald Trump did everything he could to defeat John Fetterman in PA. His super PAC spent millions to tear John down. Then after voters cast their ballots, the race was decided, Trump tried to spread more conspiracy theories. He knew losing this seat meant losing critical support. Now we're more than 700 days from the 2024 election, and Trump just announced his decision to run. Let's be clear. Trump's a major threat to our democracy. Russia donation now. We only have 700 days. Rush the donation now. Thanks, Fetterman. I will not be rushing a donation to you. By the way, Trump, smart to come out even as a shield, because they are going to try to indict him. That is something that's going to happen. The Democrats will play politics with it. Just like the Democrats told you that MAGA candidates were a threat to democracy, but then spent money to get those candidates to win the primaries, they don't really think they're a threat to democracy. It's all a political game to them. That's what it's about. So their decision, and the FBI is just part and parcel to that, the decision to charge Trump with a crime will be a purely political one. It will be, if we think Trump is weak and easy to beat in the general election, we will not charge Trump with a crime because it'll be seen as an impediment to him running. If we think Trump could beat Biden, then we'll charge him. And that's what will happen. So Trump's right to come out here early. The other thing is you have to start campaigning 2 years early now, because Democrats don't want to debate. They can't defend their record. They can't defend their issues. They rely on the narrative pushing the issues for them. So the old strategy of focusing on your policies versus your opponent, in the final couple months of an election no longer applies. The campaign is never ending now because ballot harvesting and early voting means the campaign season never ends. So you have to start campaigning now. You can't afford to save your good story for the end. It doesn't work that way. So, alright, let's find someone to raid. Okay, I'm going to sleep good tonight, I think. Thanks, I'm glad people... Sorry that the first hour and 10 minutes was just the Trump thing, but I thought it was worth listening to. Let's raid Brant for Liberty. Raid's so wobbly. Is that what I said? Key lime, never would I accuse Key Lime of being an intelligent person. But what Trump said, I was going to say, I literally did a whole episode yesterday as how I was at fault for the disappointment. Yeah, welcome to politics, Key Lime. That's what they all say. You think Biden was going to say if they would have lost the Senate? Yeah, it was my fault. So wobbly. Alright, we'll raid that. I don't know who that is, but sure. Is this some shitbird? I hope not. I think I've raided them before. If you have a small channel and you would ever like me to raid you, I would be happy to do so. I like to raid different people. That's particularly smaller streamers. But I'll raid bigger streamers than me too. Don't mind. Alright, yeah, so I got some conspiracy stuff of my own. Well, I mean, Key Lime, for God's sakes, wasn't it in Michigan he endorsed Eric? And it was like Eric Gratian versus Eric something else. And then they just said, who do you endorse? He's like, Eric. That's brilliant. That's a politician. So, alright, hope you enjoyed this stream. Remember, stay positive. Life's good, man. Laugh at the absurdity of it all. But life's good. So, I enjoy this raid of So Wobbly. I will see you all tomorrow from my home studio, barring any crazy work shit. So you'll see my beautiful face. That'll be tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern. Thank you so much, everyone, and as always, have a good one.
What?
I didn't do it.
How can I turn right? Hey, Kane. Thank you for the follow. A raid? Oh, gosh, I'm sorry. Because I'm going to